All right, we are back with another Zwift race. This is stage one of the PAS Racing, PAS, I'm not sure how you say it, PAS Racing series on the jungle circuit. And this is a new thing from Zwift on focusing on some gravel racing. They released a bunch of new gravel frames and they released some new gravel courses. Interestingly, this is a rehash of the first stage. The first stage was originally on one of their brand new gravel courses, and it was an abject failure. They tried to play with the game physics, the ride physics, to make it faster and more dynamic, I guess, and it was a complete failure. Bikes were going all over the place, and it was just terrible. So they yanked that course and replaced it with this one, which is kind of more of a normal, one of Zwift's existing gravelish courses. And so we're sort of starting over with stage one here. Like I said, Zwift kind of came out with these new gravel frames, and I've never had a gravel bike in Zwift. Never really needed one. There have been stages with, or races with gravel sections in them, but it never made sense to ride a gravel bike because most of the course was on tarmac, and a road bike is much faster on tarmac than a gravel bike would be. But this race is all gravel, or most gravel, you'll see, primarily gravel, except for the lead-in. So it made sense to have a gravel bike. And so I went looking at the new bikes and basically spent all my drops on a Hot Dog new gravel frame. I didn't have enough money to get Hot Dog gravel wheels, but I'll hopefully earn some more drops and buy those a little bit later. As before, I'm in the 210 to 330 racing school range, and I am right up to the top of that range, so I'm expecting to be able to do reasonably well in this race. I'm hoping that I'm going to get in the top 10, but we'll see how that goes. And here's the start. You'll see here that it's a pretty hard start in terms of how much I'm pushing here. So, it's always a big push to get going, but the effort lingers, and you'll notice the first part of this is obviously on tarmac, and this lead-in, the first part of this lead-in is on tarmac, but it's downhill. So normally I can, going downhill, I can sit in the draft and just super chill. But right now I was pushing 4 watts there, 3 to upper 3 watts just to stay in the pack on a downhill. Actually, this is not a downhill, but shortly to be a downhill. And it's hard. I feel like I really feel the gravel bike inefficiency on the road. So right here, I'm pushing harder than I really normally would be, 3.2 watts, just to sit in full draft on a relatively large pack. It was weird. It felt strange. And I felt it in the pedals. I felt like I was pedaling in sand. It's a hard thing to quantify, really, because resistance is hard to sort of feel or compare from one time to the other. But normally I would not be doing this many watts just to stay in the pack on a 5% downhill. So yikes! Don't ride your gravel bike on the road. And I was really kind of worried because I was working pretty hard just to stay in this pack. But the road ends, and we get on the gravel, and immediately, 2.7 watts, 2.9 watts, I go straight to the front of the group. And almost through. So like, wow, as soon as the surface changed from road to gravel, the gravel bike just took off. It was a really strange feeling. And the speeds just get, as we're going downhill, obviously, it gets so much faster, and it's crazy. I'm not going to linger here too long. We'll just kind of speed this up and go. But you'll see a lot of people start complaining when we start separating out here and the group starts to split. You see a lot of people saying, hey, how are you guys, you guys are way too strong for this group. And you get that a lot anyway. But to me, it feels like those guys were on road bikes and could not follow the people on gravel bikes, and they thought it was just because we were pushing our power, but I think mostly it's the frame and wheels. So very interesting situation here. So as we speed down the rest of this lead in on the gravel, I'm having no trouble sitting in the pack at this point. So, it's a huge difference with the gravel frame, no question about it. Things flatten out, and we go through, we go through this little cavern on the flat before we start the climb. And once we start going up, things start to spread out a little bit. Do some extra pushing to stay with the lead group. People catch back up, but pretty major selection going on here and thinning out. The front of this group starts to go away. Where that guy goes away right there, in hindsight, I kind of wish I would have gone with him. I probably could have, and we probably could have squashed his little attack here, and then this other guy goes with him. Those two guys kind of get off the front. I kind of lose track of the second guy, but those two guys kind of get away, and the rest of us here, with a couple of other ones that join us a little bit later, do the rest of the race, the hill, and this little dip right here. I kind of ease up at the top and almost come off the back. I had to put a pretty big dig in just to get back to this group so I could draft them on the way down. And that's pretty much what I do, and which I always do, is just sit in the draft and try to do as little work as possible, because I know what's going to happen here. This is going to come out to a bunch sprint, because basically it's downhill and to like a kilometer, maybe 2 kilometers of flat to the finish. So this is just going to be a bunch sprint from 500 meters, and we'll see who wins. And so I want to save as much energy as I possibly can, because I'm really not that powerful. So going into this cavern, here's a half kilometer, 400 meters, and things will start to ramp up here. I slowed it down, and I'm just watching these other guys, and they start ramping up the power. I start ramping up the power, and it's every mind for themselves. This guy saved the purple steamroller to get a better road, but I think I picked him at the line, so I ended up getting 4th on the line, which again, pretty happy with, really. So I probably could have done better, but I was working hard, so happy with that, and learned a lot about gravel bikes and racing and tires and things like that. So good stuff. All right, thanks for watching.